Hi everyone, and welcome to a very special live stream today. My name is Kseniya Zvereva, and I'm Senior Manager on Product Strategy team. And believe me, this is going to be an awesome session. Our topic today, World Backup Day. I'm joined today by Kirsten Stoner, Technologies and Product Strategy team. Hi Kirsten, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I am ready to talk about backup. I know working for a backup company, one thing it's taught me is to always have a backup in place just in case. You never know what's going to happen. So I'm really happy to be here today discussing this with you, Kseniya.
Oh, that's awesome. But you know what? Before we do that and jump into the content, we have a map. And everyone who joined us, we would like to hear from you. Please tell us where you joined from and where you're based from, and then we'll take a look. So it's not automated, and we definitely want to hear your voice. So currently, I'm joining from Netherlands and Kirsten from Columbus, Ohio. And yeah, just tell us, guys, where are you from? All right. So I think we can get it started, right? So, what is World Backup Day? So, I just thought that it would make sense to start with a little introduction into this day and to share a little bit more of the history. So, first, it's celebrated annually, March 31st. It's really important that it reminds people back up their data, right? And I find it kind of funny that this event falls on the day before April Fool's Day, so before April the 1st. So you definitely don't want to be, fool, and you have to make sure that you have a backup. Okay, and when we were getting ready to this session, I and Kirsten, we were discussing, okay, but remember the times where there were no backup? Like, what is actually the story behind? What is the history like from technology perspective, right? So, Kirsten, could you please share a little bit more? Because I know you did some digging on that and share with us what is the times before backup?
Yeah, for sure. So I did do a little bit of looking around regarding, backup and really where it got started. And when you think about it, it got started really with the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution was a turning point in history. It took things away from being handmade to being machine made. And while these workers were going into these factories, it was important for them to show up to work on time and clock in and clock out. So for this, they used the punch card technology. And this was,
Wow.
yeah. So if you don't know what a punch card is, I've only used a punch card once in my life. I used to work for the county engineer's office, and I just, went in every day with my little card and, did
Yeah.
the up and down motion, and then I had to clock out. So this was really the start of data collection and storage. But as you were thinking about this wasn't a really good long-term solution, especially as technology has evolved and businesses required more, data processing, data collection, relied on that data as well. So then we were transitioning into the 1950s, and we had the introduction of tape.
Yeah.
So tape is still around today, and we still see it being used, especially for a long-term archival of storage, or if you really want to have a copy of your data that is offline, and you can't read or write to it, it's completely offline. And as the computers began to develop and process that more of that data and took on the storage of that data, this soon became not a very good solution because it took a long time for businesses to back up to tape and then also restore from that tape. So there needed to be a better solution to be put into place. So then we go into the 1990s, and this is where we saw hard disk drives being developed. They were really expensive at first, but it offered a better solution for businesses. And over time, we saw, the idea of the floppy disks, the zip drives, and the writable CDs and DVDs. And for some of us, this might have been our first, like our earliest form of storage. Because I remember growing up, I had, computer games I would play, but, that was on a floppy disk. So I would just, insert
Yeah.
the floppy disk into my computer. But now it's kind of sad. I'm like, I kind of miss the days of floppy disks, like,
Right.
because you could get them in all different colors. They were super fun. But
Yeah, and
that,
small. They're like
yes.
super small and thin, and yeah, I'm kind of miss it too.
Yeah, so as you can tell though, that wasn't going to last long because as we all know, technology, it continues to evolve and innovate. And that's where we are today is with the cloud. And the cloud is easy to scale, it's easy to use in certain situations, and it's easy to access. So really being able to be more flexible with your data and storing it in the cloud is where we are currently today.
Yeah, no, that's great. And just to add to this one, I remember, times where you had phone, for instance, and for instance, you have lots of pictures there, and if you deleted something, it's gone for good. Like now, I can't imagine that because I have backup on my phone, I have backup of laptop, of everything. I have all my pictures, data. I mean, even personal, I'm not talking even about companies, but that's interesting how fast it evolved.
Yes, I agree with the phone thing because there was this one time where it was like if you accidentally plugged in your phone into the computer and you said like sync to the computer, it would
Yeah.
erase everything on your phone. And I remember one time that happened to me, and it was a really sad day. But that was years ago, like probably 10, 11, 12 years ago at that point when that happened. So, but now we have iCloud, or Apple Cloud. I have an Apple phone,
iCloud.
so yeah.
iCloud. Yeah, I'm using iCloud. Guilty. Okay, but let's talk about data.
Yes.
So I think data is everywhere, right? So could you please elaborate a little bit on this?
Yeah, data is everywhere. It drives businesses, it influences decisions, and it also resides in multiple places. So when you think about how data drives businesses rely on our applications, customer relationship systems, email servers, web servers. Really, our businesses run on this data that's being collected through these different applications. And then adding to that, that data that's being collected can help with decision making. Think about decisions about sales or potentially where to purchase a new real estate building for your office or a restaurant. When to capacity plan, when to buy more servers or expand on your resources. This is all taken from the data that we're collecting from these different sources and helping us make better business decisions. And then lastly, data resides in multiple places. So it could be on premises, it could be in the cloud, it could be in those critical applications. But no matter where it resides, it's important to have a backup in place that's going to be able to support that data no matter where it lives.
Yeah, yeah, and that makes sense. And I can tell you that it actually applies again not only from business perspective, but data is everywhere if you think about that. Everything you have, you go to doctor, you get an appointment, you have data, you fly somewhere. This is also data that's being stored somewhere. You got some pictures, videos, applications, all of that. So we live in so digital, I mean like 100% digital world. So this is kind of, yeah, impressive, I would say.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Yeah, I
All
was just
right.
thinking about
Mhm.
too when you said airlines, like a couple years ago when there was that airline outage, and people were like stuck places and they couldn't book their flights. I don't know if you remember that. I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's important to, have that availability solution and that backup so that you can make sure that, you are serving your customers because without that backup, you're losing customer confidence. There's a lot of things that you can lose for a business.
Oh, yeah. And you should definitely have their plan in place. I mean, it's not just words and it could happen to anyone. And since we started talking about some, practices and recommendations, I suggest we move to the next slide. And take a look into the key backup considerations. Of course, there could be more of them. I mean, I think the key consideration is having a backup, right? So for starters, like you should have a backup for your business, for your personal needs, but for business especially. And yeah, Kirsten, let's take a look what we got here.
Yeah, so these are some backup considerations that you should take into effect or consider when you're backing up your data. The first one is mission critical versus non-mission critical. So what are the applications or machines that are the most important to your business? This is important because once you decide, those mission critical machines, you also need to decide your RPOs and RTOs for
Oh,
them.
yeah.
But also there's machines within the data center or that you probably may not need to back up. So deciding and categorizing your machines based on, mission critical versus non-mission critical, or even, lab machines that don't necessarily need to be backed up can save you time, money, and on storage when you go to, back up all your data. The next thing is to think about, where does that data live? Like I mentioned, data is everywhere. So is it in the cloud? Is it at a service provider? Is it on premises? And it's important to make sure that your backup solution supports that data, but also it can, innovate with you as your data moves around. So, maybe you in the cloud right now, or maybe you're using something like Kubernetes. Can your backup solution, support that data there and make sure that you can recover it when you need to? Next, thinking about that level of protection. So what are your recovery point objectives? What are your recovery time objectives? This is a good thing to always, implement and, build your backup strategy around. Do you need to use a technology like continuous data protection for those most critical machines? This is something that you need to evaluate when thinking about backup. Next is the 3-2-1-1-0 rule. And if you're not familiar with this rule, this is 3 copies of data on 2 different media, 1 off-site, 1 that's immutable or air-gapped, with 0 errors in recovery. So with today's security concerns, it's important to have a copy of your data that is air-gapped. But also you want to make sure that you have 0 errors in recovery. So being sure to test your restores is always important.
Yeah, and just to add here, Kirsten, so just to add, it also shows how the technology evolves. So I think a couple of years ago, we've been talking only about the 3-2-1 rule, right? And now we're talking also about immutability and, more and more options to make sure that you have to consider it in your backup strategy.
Yeah, definitely. And that leads us to, when you think about the 3-2-1-1-0 rule, that's really should be the minimum data protection strategy you have. We see a lot of customers actually doing a lot more than that, because that should be the baseline for your availability strategy. So that leads us into like backup storage, where you want to store your data, whether it's a traditional storage device, object storage, or potentially using that partner on your side as a service provider. Business continuity versus disaster recovery. Advanced planning, it could not be more important, especially in today's day and age. You never know what's going to happen. So, making sure you have a business continuity plan as well as a disaster recovery plan is definitely very important. It's going to make sure that when that disaster does happen, that you have peace of mind and you can navigate it appropriately. So thinking about security, security is more important than ever. Things like MFA, immutable storage options, monitoring any activity that might be abnormal is important. Recovery options. So when your application does fail or you need to get that data back, what recovery options do you need to have in your backup solution? And we can talk about backup all day, but if you can't back up, if you can't recover, then there's no point in backing up. Am I right?
Yeah, oh, totally. And you know what? One of our watchers, Steven, he also shared one more consideration that I believe actually legit. What does failure look like? So that will determine recovery methods as well, then which is kind of connected to backup method as well. So good point, and thank you for sharing this.
Yeah, that's a great point. it's really important to make sure that you have your recovery method in place when a failure happens.
Yeah.
And that means you should also be testing your stores. So making sure that your data is recoverable. You can do this through, a lot of different ways, spinning that data up in a lab environment. And then lastly, monitoring and reporting. A lot of times that might be the last thing people think about, but it's important to monitor your backup jobs, make sure they're finishing successfully, making sure your virtual machines are meeting your ARC recovery point objectives. And that's all really done by monitoring that data and making sure that you are aware of what's going on in your environment. So I think, Kseniya, it's time for us to go to the map. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Let's take a look. I see lots of people joining us today. Canada, Maryland, Indiana, Wisconsin, North Carolina. Oh my God, so many entries. New Hampshire, Kansas, Montana, Texas, Florida, New York, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Georgia, Michigan. I don't know, probably we are doing, hitting and setting up a new record here. Illinois, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Washington, South Carolina, Tennessee, Mexico, Jamaica, Bahamas. Oh, that's awesome. So also lots of European entries, Germany, Greece, United Kingdom. Welcome and hi everyone. Ireland, Italy, Norway, Romania, Spain, Finland, Austria, Netherlands, Denmark, Czech Republic, Monaco, Switzerland. Oh my God, Kirsten, can you believe that? And and also Brazil and Guyana and Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, South Africa, Palestine, Malaysia, India, Thailand, Vietnam. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, but hey, it's World Backup Day, right? I mean, people joining from around the globe, and we're super happy to see all of you here. And thank you for joining. And, that's what we wanted to. We wanted to mark this event, to spend it together with our Veeam community. So thank you for joining. All right. Let's take a look what else we have. So, yeah, and I also wanted, apart from the considerations, and definitely there are, more in this, what you have to keep in mind. And my favorite part, of course, having DR plan, business continuity plan, as well as have all the tests done, because, okay, if you have it, make sure you test it. But apart from these backup considerations, there are also lots of resources, and I believe some of them on this slide, the resources that you need to be aware of. And I will start with the weekly The World from Gostev email newsletter. This newsletter is driven by our Senior VP Product Management. So Anton Gostev delivered every Sunday. And okay, I'm personally a fan of this. So lots of insights, lots of updates, and also lots of personal opinions and different technologies. So I'm subscribed, and I highly recommend you to get subscribed as well. Another resource, it's Veeam One Catch of the Day. So I put here hashtag, you can see it. We're using it in Twitter, and I believe that was started by Rick Vanover, right, Kirsten? So Rick started it.
Yeah, Rick started it, I feel like last year around this time. And if you look at the hashtag, there's going to be so much, there's videos, there's screenshots, anything that you want to, know more about Veeam One, that's a great place to look, especially if you're a Twitter user. I mean, we all love Twitter. I love Twitter, so.
I love Twitter. Okay. Apart from that, and I believe that's something that's being overlooked, it's Veeam Help Center. So whenever you want to look for some insights and details or, step-by-step guides on how to install something, this should be your first resource to go. If you have any problems, issues, again, I know that lots of people, they would like rather go to support and raise a ticket, but Help Center, I think we have really the best Help Center in the industry because it's so detailed with so many explanations in there. So definitely make sure you have it by hand. So apart from that, we also have Veeam University. It's free on-demand training that you can take on your own, in your own pace. So with the bite-sized videos, and you can also check your knowledge there because there are some quizzes in there. And two more resources that I would recommend. It's Veeam Architect site. So it's a community resource, but at the same time, it's driven by Veeam architects. But again, it's not a part of Veeam.com, for instance, right? So it's definitely for community and driven by community. And Veeam Hub on GitHub. So on GitHub, you may find lots of scripts. I mean it, like lots of PowerShell scripts, code samples, Grafana dashboards, and stuff like that. So Kirsten, am I missing anything here?
I don't think so. I think you really hit all of the places. I guess one of the things that you didn't add here, I'm not sure if it might be on the next slide, is just also the Veeam Community Hub, right?
Of course, it will be on the next slide. Okay, let's take a look. So, yeah, and we wanted to share these community stories. So, one of the Veeam Legend Vanguard, Michael Paul. I don't know if Michael you're watching. Hi, Michael. So he is doing these fun Friday threads, and I thought that I would add them here, incorporate, because he was doing this countdown, and every Friday he was publishing something related to World Backup Day. So, and we added it here, and this is the first scenario and even question to the audience who is watching. So, imagine that you're responsible for data protection. Not imagine, most likely you're responsible for data protection in your organization. So, you have asked for budget to get some form of immutability or air-gapped backup in place. So, you can also take a look at the infrastructure that you have. And also you have options to choose from. Or you can come up with your own options. So let us know in comments what backup you choose. And while audience is choosing, I wanted to ask Kirsten. Kirsten, what would you go with? Tell me.
Okay, so I read this really fast. So I originally chose, I'm like on this tape thing. I don't know. I'm really loving tape.
Yeah, yeah.
So I said tape shipped to DR site, but I also didn't read like it correctly because I thought it said that it was non-production VMs. So I was thinking, this is something that, could be on tape and it might not be needed to access very frequently, especially in a restore. But I would probably change my answer after I reread this a couple times over. But Kseniya, what would you choose?
Okay. So, I had a few ideas in mind. So first I thought about some option with DR side, but then I did vote for AWS S3 immutable. So that would be my choice. And I know that when we look into the answers, because I also have some answers in this thread, so I'm telling you, so different points of view, and I'm also wondering what the audience think about this as well. So let's see, and make sure that you type it in the comments because we are really wondering what's your opinion on this. Okay, so but talking about this survey and results, so you see that I'm not alone with my AWS S3 immutable. Okay, what else we see? Tape ship to DR side. Okay. Linux hardened repository DR side, actually a good option as well. S3 compatible provider with immutability. So also, by the way, some love to object storage. I actually thought about it as well. So compatible object storage at DR side. What do you think, Kirsten?
I think that these results are pretty much what we've seen, especially just like being a part of the community and what people, administrators are doing today when it comes to DR. So it's pretty what I would assume would be the results, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's like, different. And by the way, you can read the entire thread in Community Hub if you go there. So definitely make sure to check it out. And there are lots of comments and discussions around also other options that weren't on the list as well. Okay, let's take a look into next slide. Okay, it's just a fun question, but we ask you to be honest with this one, please. Please tell us, when did your last backup your own PC laptop? personal one. So we're not talking about jobs now, right? So we're not talking about work and infrastructures, customer infrastructures. So please let us know. Yeah, in the meantime, lots of answers. If you take a look to the previous question, so tape ship to DR side, active archive data center, okay, Linux hardened repository, yeah, good one. Tape shipped offsite. Okay, lots of answers. That's great. Great to see. Keep them coming. Okay, but now I have to ask you, Kirsten, confession time. Tell us about your last backup.
So for my work computer, I do have the Veeam agent on it, and I do back up my work computer like every 24 hours. But my personal computer is like actually very old, and I think the last time I backed it up was like before I moved apartments. So I would say
Oh
like
no! Oh no!
probably over a year ago. But I don't really use my personal computer that much. I use my work laptop a lot. So, because I'm on my work
Okay,
laptop every
okay.
day. So I use that um, all the time. And I have an iPad as well that I use, and that's like newer. So my laptop, I, yeah, I don't like do a lot on there, like my personal laptop. But what would you say, Kseniya?
Okay, I'm guilty here as well. So I think that, of course, I do. You always back up of my work laptop. So all safe here, all good, and no issues. But if I talk about my personal laptop, I think that I did a backup last year. So, but again, I'm also using my work laptop the most. So the majority of things that I have, and I also have a second source. So I have a hard drive where I save another information. So I actually doing some backups, in the meantime. But yeah, so I think I have to do this more often while we speak. So it's something
Yeah.
that. Okay, all right. So I'm curious, yeah, what audience think and telling us so many, yeah. Oh, okay. So last 24 hours, the majority of people. Last 7 days, not bad as well. And we have, can you imagine? We have no one greater than last year, but two people never did backup.
Well, yeah, too. I was reading through the thread, and Jeff had mentioned something along the lines like, don't just back up your PC, but back up your spouses and kids as well, because you never know, what might spill on accident on those laptops. So never might not be a good idea anymore. So you might want to start doing that now, huh?
Yeah. A good advice. Okay, let's move further. Okay. This is just, since we're doing this world backup session and we talk a lot about community and to community. So this is a way you can make sure that you back up your data. And we have here at Veeam, we offer free community editions. And here are the links where you can find Veeam Backup for Application Community Edition, Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365, Veeam One Community Edition. Also, you can find free products in marketplaces. I mean, for cloud, because again, it's important. No, everyone should remember about the shared responsibility model, and cloud should be backed up as well. And also, you can get to try Custom K10. So we also have free product for Custom Kubernetes. But I think it's time to take a look at the map again, shall we? Okay, or maybe, okay, a couple minutes later. So I think there are too many entries, Kirsten.
Yeah, we're lighting up the map green, and I hope it could be like the most green it's ever been, and that would be actually really exciting.
Yeah. I hope that we actually, set a new record today. So I wanted to share, I wanted to talk about how to get connected. And Kirsten, you mentioned before that, okay, why don't we mention the Community Hub? So here you go. Please make sure that you join us in Veeam Community Hub. So there are lots of programs, resources, and sections where you can participate, you can engage. So we have user groups there, we have blogs and podcast section there, we have discussion boards, and it also have events there. So make sure that you go there, you get registered, and you're on top of everything what happened in the community. So as I mentioned, we also have Veeam user groups, and the beauty of it is that you can get connected with your local peers and talk in your local language and share content and ask questions and have conversations in local language. And of course, make sure to join Veeam R&D forums. So the key difference that Community Hub is driven by community, while R&D forums is a place to talk to our R&D team. So now I think it's time. Let's take a look at the map. Okay. Oh my God, it's getting really green. So now I see that's Kentucky, Nevada, New Jersey, Vermont, Idaho, Connecticut. All right. Portugal, Turkey, Poland, Germany, Wales, Austria, Brazil, Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, Argentina, Peru, Morocco, Lebanon, Sudan, Cambodia, Australia. Wow, someone is watching us from Australia. Can you imagine that?
No, it has to be pretty late there. Past my
Yeah.
bedtime.
Someone just celebrated the World Backup Day, so
Yeah.
it's kind of understandable. All right, but today we have something else to share. So as all of you know, all who's watching the show, that we've been doing raffles and prizes. And Kirsten, could you please share with us winners?
Yeah, so we have our winners of the tech gadgets. So our first, and I want to apologize ahead of time if I mispronounce anybody's name. I have a really hard name to pronounce, so I understand that sometimes it's not like it's hard. Okay, so our first person who's won is Roman Malkowicz in Canada. Congratulations. Our next winner is in the Netherlands, Jeroen Vrillink.
Oh, congrats.
Yes, I don't know how to say congrats in Dutch, but I would if I could. Um, Adam Moen in Norway, Michael Keating in Australia, Miles Edge in the US, and Doug Bartley in the US. So congratulations. We will also be posting the winners on our landing page, our website for World Backup Day. So if you want to check there just to make sure that you heard your name correctly, definitely check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure that you check this out. And all the winners, I believe there were 6 winners. They will be published there. Okay, and just to summarize it, I also want to remind everyone that Vermont registration is open. And we're also going to have, apart from the face-to-face experience, we're also going to have our virtual experience, which is 100% free. And the in-person event is $400 off full price until April 12th. So you still have almost a couple of weeks. Plus, if you register by May 1st, you qualify for a chance to win one of 20 pairs of custom Veeam kicks. How cool is that? I mean, I don't have these kicks, Kirsten, but probably I would love to get some pairs,
Yes, I wish I had them.
Okay. I think that's it for today. Thanks everyone for joining. Please remember to back up your data. Thanks, Kirsten, for joining. I think it was very informative. It was fun. And yeah, I think that's it for today. Have a good day, everyone.
Yep. Thank you.